People keep sending me these links to various rant videos, usually with some black Trump supporter who's justifying police brutality by tearing down the victims and by citing statistics of white people who were brutalized as well, as if some killings, I guess, are acceptable to them. Here's the way I see it. If you have to tear somebody down in order to justify any act of violence against them by the police or whoever, regardless of the race, then you're not a well person. And I don't mean that in a judgmental sense. I mean that in a clinical sense. There's something sociopathic about that. You know, what we're standing for is zero tolerance on all police brutality, especially after somebody's in handcuffs, right? It's not shoot first based on your racially biased instincts and then ask questions. We want transparency, fair and humane treatment, the implementation of de-escalation measures, right? Take Breonna Taylor's situation, for example. She shot 8 times in her house by undercover police officers who broke into her house without knocking in the middle of the night because they were looking for some evidence that a former boyfriend of hers had possibly left some drugs hidden around her house. This happens at 1 a.m. I could see if it's the Bin Laden raid, right? But this was some random search on a citizen with no priors, no history of doing anything wrong. And for some reason, it needed to take place at 1 o'clock in the morning without knocking first. Now, Breonna Taylor was a first responder. She was one of the essential workers that many of us are clapping for at 8 o'clock every night. She saved lives as her job and probably would have saved a lot more lives if her life hadn't been cut short by these officers who, by the way, are still on the job. Nothing happened to them. So you're saying that's okay with you? You can live with that? Then they'll say, well, you know, Breonna shouldn't have been associated with drug dealers. Okay, let's say that Breonna wasn't a first responder. Let's say she was a stripper or a prostitute. Does that mean that shooting her in the middle of the night would have been more justified? Would she be less worthy of fighting for? Right? Didn't Jesus say, that which you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do unto me? So when people send you this nonsense, it actually says more about them than it does about any of the victims of police brutality. It says that they've somehow convinced themselves to make it morally acceptable for one human who's coincidentally sworn to protect and serve to brutalize another unarmed human while they're sleeping, while they're walking, while they're playing with toys. The list goes on. And I guess the pro-life stance doesn't extend to victims of police brutality. But it's way easier to blame our society's cancer of racism on the victims than it is to have to look at yourself and your society and your politics, and to have to actually stand for human decency and for the dignified treatment of other humans. Just because it's normal doesn't make it right or moral. You don't need to know what somebody's rap sheet was or their background or their track record to know what's right. And if you do, then again, it says more about you than it does about them. And if anything were to ever happen between you and the police, we don't care what you did up until now. It's not right for you to get brutalized. And we'll stand for you too. Not because we like you, but because it's the right thing to do. Please share this message with your followers, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. I add new videos daily, so make sure you click to subscribe so you don't miss out. And if you want to see the next insight, just click on over to the right. You can also follow me on Instagram @LightWatkins, and I look forward to seeing you next time.